Wheelgun Dan, wheelgundan.com. Today we're going to be talking about the Ruger 10mm. This is the SR1911, but this is chambered in 10mm. Now you may have seen a number of videos already on the internet about this gun. A lot of guys did a really good job, so what I'm going to try to not do in this video is mention anything that's already been mentioned very well in other videos. So about this particular gun, I guess the first thing that you notice, it's got different grips on it. Now these particular grips here, let me tell you about these. I know a guy that makes some grips for me and I'm spoiled that way, but it's good to be Wheelgun Dan, right? So these grips are made of a type of wood that is birch. And not only a birch, but flame birch. So if you kind of move it around a little bit, the light pattern kind of has this diagonal wiggle to it. So it's got a kind of a three-dimensional effect. Not sure the camera can pick that up or not. But not only that, Ted Nugent is a big fan of the 10mm. Stainless steel, even the barrel itself, it's got a dark coating on it. It's a stainless barrel, but it's got this dark coating on it that they'll tell you what the name of it is on the Ruger website. And today is also a hot day. I am noticing that it's getting really hot. And this is one of the advantages that this kind of a wood grip has. These grips were made just from wood. They were sanded until they were as smooth as glass, and then there was oil applied to it, so there's no like lacquer coating or anything like that. And so the advantages are, when it's really hot like today, your hand, it sticks to the grips. This came from the factory with these rubber grips that had like a checker pattern, and they are really grippy and everything. And that works fine also, but the difference is when I have this, if I'm carrying concealed, let's say I got it up under my shirt on a holster or something like this, if I had the factory rubber grips on here and I go and I reach for something and I come back down, the rubber is going to snag on the fabric that I'm wearing, and it'll stay stuck up a little bit here, and maybe your holster will start peeking or something. This is completely smooth. The fabric just rolls right over it. It doesn't snag fabric, but when your hand is on it, your hand doesn't slip. So it's really, really fascinating that way. So I thought I would mention that. The other thing about this gun I want to talk about is the magazine. Now the magazine, not wearing a holster today. So there's a company out here called Kimber. They got some really great guns. I've got a couple of them. One thing I don't like about Kimber is their magazines. It says Kimber on it. I've just got to the place where I throw it out. I don't even want, I've had so many problems with them. I don't want any magazines that say Kimber on them. I go with, you know, Wilson Combat or Chip McCormick or something like that. So I'm picky about what kind of magazines that I use. So in 10mm, you don't really have a lot of options. I told you it's hot. If you got a 10mm 1911, you're pretty limited on what kind of magazines you can have. So one of the things I looked at when I was considering a 10mm is how well are these magazines made. I don't know if you'll be able to see it on there, but it says 10mm on there, and it says Ruger. Now I'm pretty sure Ruger didn't make these, but whoever the heck made these for Ruger did a fantastic job. You can tell, you just look at other magazines, you look at this magazine, you can see, you know, from the polish, the fine details about it, all the seams, how they just come together with such a jeweler's quality almost. I don't know if that's the right word, but these are made really well. So I really like these, and you are not going to have any problem with these magazines. These are the Rugers. They say 10 millimeter on them, so you're not going to get them confused with your 45 ACP magazines that look just like it. So you got a bunch of them in the safe or whatever, and you go grabbing magazines. Says right there 10 millimeter, so you don't get them confused. So I really like these magazines. You don't have to go to third-party magazines with these. They're really good. So anyway, the other thing that I thought I'd talk about is how hard does this gun kick. So here's how I would measure that for you. I like a gun that has some kick to it. Feels like I'm shooting a real gun, but I'm old enough now that I don't really need the ego stroking of a gun that kicks really hard like a 44 Magnum or anything like that. I don't care about that anymore. So this right here, on a normal 1911, when I fire it, it really doesn't, I mean it kicks, but it doesn't hurt my hand in any way, shape, or form. I feel the spring going boing or whatever every time I fire a normal 1911 with a 45 auto round, and it's almost a little lackluster. It's like it doesn't really kick hard enough. This here, 10 millimeter, it kicks hard enough for me to notice. It gets my attention. When I fire this gun, it's like finally I've got an SR1911. I've got a 1911 style design, originally invented in this design, John M. Browning back in 1911, basically. I feel like I'm really firing a gun. It feels good. The weight of the gun helps reduce the recoil, and so it makes it very comfortable to shoot. I had a 10 millimeter Glock, and the Glock had two problems. One, the grip was so long this way that with my hand I had to really reach to grab the trigger, and I felt like that reach that I was stretching for the trigger, it was causing me to not be able to hit the target effectively. And then because it's a Glock, it was so light with a 10 millimeter round in it, a full bore 10 millimeter round in it, that it hurt my hand to where it was uncomfortable and I didn't like it. So I sold it. But with this, it's got a shorter grip this way. So when I engage the weapon like this, now the angle at which my finger is engaging the trigger is at an angle this way. I'm not reaching up at an angle this way to try and find the trigger. I grip the weapon like this, it's right there. So now I've got very good control over the trigger, and I can do exactly what I need to, which is put bullets on target and everything. So that's the basics that I wanted to talk to you about as far as this Ruger SR1911. I really like it, and I like it better with these flame birch grips. And if I listen closely enough, I think I can hear Stranglehold being played in the background. Anyways, so I'm going to fire a few shots here and see how it does. Man, that feels good. That is a neat gun. I like it. Do yourself a favor, go out and get one. It's got a half-cock position right there too. Wheelgun Dan, wheelgundan.com. Thanks for watching.